My dear apprentices, here we are with another marvelous math lesson. In this video, you will see how to subtract a, let me show you with a focus line, a fraction from a mixed number, and then we're going to subtract a mixed number from a fraction. Okay, let's begin. What we're going to do is we're going to do it one at a time. So we're gonna create like I created on my previous video. What we're gonna do today, we're going to show how, for example, the whole numbers. This is a whole number, and there is no whole number here, so the whole number there is 0. Okay. Now we're gonna identify the fractions, and the fractions will be identified with their blue color. So these are the fractions: 3/10 and 1/6. And what I want you also to notice is that the symbol in the middle says that we have to subtract. So the first fraction is the whole numbers. It's going to be 1 minus 0, and the answer should be 1. So there you go. We have the first part of the problem solved. So that should be a 1. Now we have finished with the whole numbers. Now we're going to look at the fractions. The fractions are in blue. So let's do that. So we need to now subtract. We have 3/10, and from 3/10, we're going to subtract 1/6. Now, as you can see, these have unlike denominators. That means the denominators are not the same. So what are we going to do? Well, remember, we're going to multiply. We're going to multiply then the numbers. Let me undo that. We're going to multiply this denominator times the opposite denominator, which is 6, and 6 times 10, which that will be the opposite denominator. Okay, so let's do that right now. I'm going to use red. So the opposite denominator for 10 is 6. So we're going to multiply 6 times 10. And whatever we multiply the denominator by, then we have to multiply the numerator by the same number, which is 6. And remember, the reason we do that is because in this manner, we're not changing the fraction. That's the same thing as 1. 6 over 6 equals 1. Now, let's multiply now 1/6 times the opposite denominator. What is the opposite denominator of 6? The opposite denominator of 6 is 10. And now, if we multiply the denominator by 10, the numerator has to be multiplied by 10 as well. Okay? So now we have set up our multiplications there, my friends. And now we can solve it. So now we have a 3 times 6 equals 18. Okay? And 10 times 6 equals 60. So that will be the answer below. And remember, this is a subtraction. Now, 1 times 10 equals 10. And 6 times 10 equals 60. Okay? Now, since these two are the same, have the same denominator, which is 60, all we got to do is add the numerator. Subtract. So 18 minus 10, the answer is 8. Okay, so now we have the second answer. Here we go. We're going to write it down. So we have the whole number, and the answer for the actual, let me just fraction, it was 8/60, and the whole number was 1. Okay, so the two answers that we had, we put them together to give the answer for problem E. Now, this problem can be simplified. And you would ask, Mr. Magno, how do you know how to simplify? Well, if you look at the number 8/60, both numbers can be divided by 2. And also both numbers can be divided by 4. Well, the 8 can be divided by 4. But 60, we need to find the number that when you multiply it by 4 equals 60. And that will be 15. So that will be a good simplification way to simplify this problem. So that's going to be divided by 4 over 4, okay? And that is going to equal 8 divided by 4. 8 divided by 4 equals 2. And 60 divided by 4 equals 15. So now we can add the whole number, which is something that we did not have to mess with, because the only thing that we needed to simplify, the only elements were the fractions, which is 860. Now 860 can be written also as 2/15. Okay, so that would be that segment there. If we look at this other segment, which is F, we're going to look, first of all, we're going to identify the whole numbers. So the whole numbers is 2 and 3. So that's going to be our first step to solve the problem. 2 minus 1 equals 1. Okay, so that's the first part, and we're going to write the answer right next to the original expression. Now we're going to identify the fractions, and we're going to do the work with the fractions. So the fractions are 1/3 and 1/5. Let's do that now. So 1/3 minus 1/5. Okay. Now remember, these are not, their denominators are not the same. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to, let me see, is this working? Oh, yeah, I know. Let me select my pen and let's get to work. So the opposite denominator from 3 is the number 5, which is right across from it. So we're going to use this number 5 to multiply to come up with common denominators. And whenever you multiply the denominator by the opposite denominator, you multiply the numerator by the same denominator, which is 5. The opposite denominator for 5 is 3, which is right here. So it's 3. That's going to be 5 times 3. And we do the same process for the numerator. Once you do this, then you can do the multiplication. What is 1 times 5? That will equal 5. What is 3 times 5? That will be 15. Now we can, that's going to be, remember, this is a subtraction. Let's do the subtraction. And now we do 1 times 3 equals 3 over 5 times 3 equals 15. Okay. Oh, that's simple. We have the perfect subtraction. When you have that subtraction, remember that when the first number is bigger, then we have an easy subtraction. What is 5 minus 3? The answer is 2. So the answer is 2/15. We're going to add that to the whole number answer, which is, well, let's do this the right way. 2 over 15. That was the answer. But then we had a prior answer, which is 1. And let me highlight them for you. So the first answer for the whole numbers was 1, which is added to the fraction, which is the answer here. And now we have the answer for the subtraction. The answer, the total is 1 2/5 left. That's the remainder. My friends, watch the video again if you need to. Enjoy the video, learn it, rewind it, and put the time into it. It will benefit you a lot, especially if you are having difficulties with this concept. Signing out, your coach, Mr. Magno, wishing you the best day.